Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Independence Day, so I figured I would tell you a little about what's been going on in MMA, since I'm relatively an expert. You know what I'm saying? Well, my brother is. My brother Joseph Rogan Rusi. He's an expert. But all he does is spew out the slogans and phrases I done taught him when we was kids. See? But does he send me a Christmas card? Well, you know the answer to that. So let's skip Joseph. He's my brother and I love him. My brother-in-law. I married his brother, who's now his sister and is my wife. Okay, so that's the ups and downs of where it comes from, you see. So anyway, regardless of all that, I don't see what's the big deal of this Kamaru Usman. He ain't all that great, I don't think. I mean, put him up against a guy like that George Masvidal, and that'd be a good fight. I think Masvidal could probably take Usman, if you ask me. But see, that's why I have a show and you don't, because I know these things. Then we talk about another good fight I want to see is that Conor McGinty. They put him in there with that Frank Ngannou. That'd be a matchup that I'd like to see, because I believe old Con would, if he had enough pints of ale in him, he could take that big boy. That big boy's been through a lot, you know. He comes from Ethiopia, and he had to fight his way out of there. So that'd be a good matchup if you ask me. Let's see what else I was thinking about. I was thinking about, you know, if you don't have a good name, you're never going to go far in the UFC. Like, see, there used to be Old Man White. My daddy worked for Old Man White. He didn't pay much of a wage. You know, my daddy didn't make much of a wage. Well, Mr. White had a son by the name of Dana. Sorry, God. Yeah. Well, Mr. White had a son by the name of Dana White. This old boy, he's a good promoter, see. But he needs a few tips on how to do the matchups and whatnot. Because that fight was Jose Nunez, and that's, by the way, a great name. Jose Nunez and that other girl who just pretty much did nothing the whole fight. That was a good matchup, Mr. Dana. I hope you pay your fighters a good wage, because they sure earned it that night. Them two gals was pretty scrappy. What else am I thinking? Right now, you should just give an uppercut to that subscribe button, and of course, you know, give a right cross to that their like button, even if you didn't like it. What do you think about that? All right, so anyway, I'm gonna be doing videos here about my favorite sport, combat sport, which is, of course, boxing. But I'm going to include the Muay Thai boxing and all that. You ever seen that? That's where that little Jerusalem Asadian, I don't know, I think he's from Australia or something originally. And by the way of wherever else he was from. They keep saying he's on steroids, but that's Keita Boy. I don't believe he's on steroids. He's just a good fighter, that's all. People can't appreciate a good fighter. So what, his name's Jerusalem? Won't bother me none. Still puts on a good show. I mean, I've seen him whoop a lot of guys already. He puts a hurt on them. That's another one they should put up against somebody like that Colby Covington. What's that boy whining about? Hey, what? Stay out of there. It's my burger. It's Independence Day. So I'm thinking you ought to start watching my show if you want to know about the UFC and MMA and Mayploy boxing and a little of that jiu-jitsu. Everybody's doing that these days. Sorry about that. We're looking for a new set. That's just going to about wrap up this week's show. Next week you can see me on that Chester Sunnins show. About next week, I'd say he'd be calling me sometime this week asking me to do the show. I believe Joe's going to call me too and put me on his podcast. I believe he will. He knows what's right. I told you I done taught him all what he knows about fighting, and that ain't much. What the heck? Are you looking for a little Judy? I may just put you in a Kimura. A Kimura Usman. You keep eating my burger like that? The nerve of this little guy. Or gal. You're going to take a beat and you do that again? Alright, I'll see you next week with a good show. I'm going to go and try to head out into the UFC 297. Look at that back. Yeah, I'm going to Vegas to see the 297 where I don't know who the main event is. I believe there's some good fights that night. It's Vegas, Smash that like button. Smash her one good one too. I already gave her some Sheba. See you next week.